Okay, so I've got something to go ahead and roll out to the spiritual community that have been giving me a heads up about people with nefarious intentions, that have wanted to have me dogpiled, basically, while wanting to try to weaponize a harassment campaign in order to attempt to control the narrative while trying to rug sweep their indiscretions. All right, so for the ones that have wanted to make me fear potential imminent physical intimidation. I'm going to go ahead and explain why that's not going to happen. And why ultimately anybody that, values their life will not even attempt it. Especially not attempting a smash and grab, as far as a burglary goes. So, been accused of stolen valor. I'm going to go ahead and show that accusation where that really stands, because ultimately, what I'm about to display is a mobility aid. All right, a mobility aid that will make that cane obsolete to me, while simultaneously giving me full motor function capability back, while at the same time being able to utilize and weaponize every bit of the kinetic energy that ends up going ahead and getting dispensed through the design that I have designed, right? And for anybody that goes and says, wait, were you engineering a weapon? I was engineering a mobility aid that could have a secondary function as a weapon, but I was engineering a mobility aid, all right? One that ultimately could help people with Parkinson's as well as multiple sclerosis, and muscular dystrophy to be able to take the limited motor function that they have and be able to regain normalcy as far as maneuverability. All right. So this is a schematic. All right. And for anyone wondering, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? All right. Ultimately, it's a boot. All right. A boot with a specialized function. All right. So at the sides there, those are propane tanks. All right. Those end up going ahead and latching in hose wise to the bottom of the pipes, that those pipes actually have wrapped around them a shock spring, for a truck lift kit. Yeah, that type of shock spring. All right. That ultimately ends up going ahead and having a release relay that ends up releasing some of the tension to a bungee cord that's going to be wrapped around, on each side a flywheel that's lined up with the side of the knee. All right. Now, at the bottom of the boot, which keep in mind the specific boots that I have in mind, not only because the boots look cool, but also because those specific boots actually already have screws at the bottom with metal plating that would be able to just the screws being taken out and then a pressure sensor plate being installed in those same screw slots to be able to trigger a ignition relay that the landing point ends up going ahead and releasing the pressure that'll end up going ahead and igniting the relay for the propane tank that'll end up going ahead and sending the spark straight through, leading through the shock spring, which will end up going ahead and the pressure of that releasing will end up releasing the tension on the bungee cord, as well as a hydraulic pump, which that hydraulic pump will end up going ahead and triggering a slide relay, which that slide relay will actually be latched onto the end, through sprockets of each shock spring, going ahead and resetting the springs so that way every single step those springs will end up going ahead and being able to be released, all right? While at the same time, the pressure of those same strides could end up going ahead and being utilized where, stomp of the foot, or a more high impact landing will end up going ahead and utilizing that momentum that would end up sending a shock through the bottom of the feet it'll end up getting absorbed by that spring and actually redirect that momentum to a forward momentum, actually being able to give larger strides as well as a little bit of a punch if being utilized in specific ways. So, like for example, say somebody has intentions to gang up on you, multiple individuals versus you. You're disabled, and ultimately they got weapons, all right? Going ahead and, saying, for example, jumping, and then, doing a drop kick straight to their chest, will end up going ahead and triggering that pressure release sensor or pressure sensor plate to go ahead and release those springs, and ultimately all that shock that would end up going ahead and being released to the ground is instead being released into the person's rib cage as well as vital organs, going ahead and teaching them what it would be like to feel like to get drop kicked by a fucking kangaroo. All right? So, that being said, you're like, wait, did you basically take you having limited leg mobility and basically make some leg braces that would end up turning your kickboxing into basically jacks from Mortal Kombat? Yes. Yes. And why? Because fuck you, I can. So the point that I'm going to make on that is, who's going to want to smash and grab and try to threaten intimidation towards somebody because that person's physically, has limited mobility, they are not going to be able to go ahead and defend themselves. It's like, do you know what happens if your skull ends up at the bottom of that boot? You do realize it will literally grind the shards of your skull into bone powder, right? So, I mean, I'm just saying, you probably shouldn't have kicked me while I was down, but I could show you better than I could teach you. So, I'm just saying, those boots at a much higher price range could go ahead and have a matching, jet propulsion system. That jet propulsion system acts as, pretty much jetpack crutches. Every landing ends up going ahead and being the equivalent of a moon bounce. Don't worry though. Fireproof jumpsuit and, bulletproof under the fireproof, you know? So I'm just saying body armor plus fireproof suit means that weak point of going ahead and just, shooting the, propane tanks in an attempt to send the person dying in a fireball of an inferno. Yeah, that weak point won't be that weak point because there will be no points exposed that are not covered by fireproof, clothing. So, I'm just saying, those boots alone, the price tag for the both of them, about $2,500 in total. All right? But those $2,500 will make sure that never will another penny ever get shaken out of me through means of somebody else that's, triangulated. I don't fucking pay protection money. And ultimately, in my local community, the cops that want to go ahead and have a side hustle of faking a disability, pretending to be blind. Whenever somebody says, hey, if you want to keep doing business here, you've got to pay a convenience fee. If they do good business, if they don't rip their customers off, if they're just trying to get by and they're not the greedy type, and somebody comes giving that same fucking proposition, all they need to do is point me in the direction of the motherfucker that thought that it was a good day and I was the one. Alright? And for anyone that says, oh, the world is tough enough as it is, we don't need people acting in vigilantism. I've been acting within the law, went and learned the fucking law, and every time that I went to go act within the fucking law, you got somebody within the law being corrupt as fuck, trying to go ahead and try to make the rules up as they go, in an attempt to try to abscond responsibility and try to pass the fucking buck as far as their complicity and the oppression of my civil liberties. I fucking spoke up, it fell on deaf ears. Now, this is gonna go ahead and scream every fucking thing that people wanted to go ahead and play Helen Keller to. I didn't see nothing, I didn't hear nothing, I don't know nothing. Let's see how well that works in this next chapter. There is no more warnings. But yeah. By the way, this video, shout out to VG Spiritual Investigator. I appreciate you finally being like, alright, I recognize your abilities are no bullshit. Like, I'm done trying to go ahead and say, you're a fraud. Like, you've proven not to be. New evidence was presented. Now the story's changing up. I appreciate that level of accountability. All right? It makes my life easier and as far as my personal life on a constant basis. All right? To Allie from Ellie's Zen Zone, chilling with Allie, relaxing with Allie. So, yeah, that's an update. That's what I've been doing with my time. So, as far as the fuck shit goes, I guess I've been on some fuck shit, but not on some fuck shit. I don't think this is fuck shit. I think this is actually standing up for what the fuck I believe in. But, I mean, different people, different perspectives, You get to go ahead and form the conclusion that feels most comfortable to you. And other shout outs on this one. Need this message? This is what I've been doing with myself. I haven't been in my head. I don't go ahead and dwell on problems that people want to go ahead and make up and try to bring to my fucking doorstep. I operate in solutions. If you're not going to be part of the solution, then ultimately the only thing that you're contributing is trying to perpetuate a narrative that just does not fucking fit. Because I'm sorry, this does not feel like the ideas of somebody who's legitimately incompetent. This actually feels like the ideas of somebody that is like, all right, you know what? This ain't even my final form. And, at this point, people have gotten way too comfortable operating in the fuck shit that they've been doing. Now I gotta go ahead and step my game up. And people thought that I brought my A game, not even understanding. You didn't even get 10%. You couldn't even handle more than 10% in what I gave. That right there, that's going to go ahead and be like, what the fuck did we create? We should have just backed the fuck off when we had the chance. So, I don't know how much that fits into that love and light healing narrative and everything, but it ain't all love and light. Sometimes the only way to be able to reach peace is, peace by means of superior firepower. And this seems like it's escalated to the point where this is one of those occasions, whether I like it or not.